Hey y'all, Scott here, and this game blows. It could really use some plastic shit. Oh, thank God.
The idea of figurines with NFC chips inside of them transporting characters into games captured the hearts of children and 30-year-olds everywhere. This genre exploded in popularity and really hit its peak in my opinion around 2014 to 2015. Nowadays, however, it's a bit of a different story. We had 4 major players in the ring: Skylanders, which is opting out of an entry this year, Disney Infinity, which was cancelled, LEGO Dimensions, which is being quietly supported less and less, and finally, Amiibo, the only Toys to Life competitor still kicking that barely did anything. The other games had you buying figures to play as characters in their respective titles. Amiibo basically says, who likes costumes and cheap additions to games? How is Amiibo doing well enough to stay afloat when it debatably had the lamest in-game functionality of the bunch?
Probably because these are characters engraved into the minds of collectors everywhere. Figures of them obviously would make a lot of people happy.
Well, it's been a rocky road for the Toys to Life line, and the idea started in 2001 with the Nintendo e-reader. This add-on for the Game Boy Advance allowed you to swipe cards to unlock games, levels, or what have you in select titles. Some of the more prominent games that used it included Animal Crossing and Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3. However, it did a classic hard fail and just didn't catch on. Fast forward to 2013, where Nintendo finally unveiled their Toys to Life competitor, some garbage Pokemon figures that were only obtainable in blind bags exclusively at GameStop for use in a garbage eShop game for the Wii U. Hey, that must be the Pokemon Rumble U fan community again. Finally, at E3 2014, Nintendo unveiled their line of Toys to Life figures, named Amiibo, to be released alongside Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. I thought they looked cool, but I've never been much of a figurine guy, so I just kinda shrugged it off. Listen, I have a solid tree trunk's worth of games in this room. I think they speak for themselves in terms of what I enjoy. I don't need posters or figurines to emphasize that. And then Smash Bros. For Wii U came out. I wasn't able to secure the GameCube controller bundle for the game, so I had to resort to pre-ordering all the components separately. The game, the adapter, the controller, and I thought, why not? I got a Mario Amiibo in that order too. Thought it was a cool little figure. And then it hit me. So this is what overcompensation looks like. Amiibo is a Toys to Life platform, of course. These figures have NFC chips in their bases which allow for you to unlock certain things in compatible games either on Wii U, 3DS, or Nintendo Switch. The idea behind Amiibo that set it apart from the competition was that these figures can be used across multiple games on Nintendo platforms rather than just one specific game. Alas, not all Amiibo are compatible with every game. That kinda makes everything feel a bit fragmented and makes some figures much more valuable than others when taking into consideration in-game functionality. As somebody who doesn't care for figurines, I like the Smash Bros. Amiibo because they were the same as the trophies in the game. I thought that was so cool, I had to get them all. But also as somebody who doesn't care for figures, I don't display these things. These guys sit comfortably in an ottoman most of the time. I mainly only collected the Smash Bros. Series, but of course I have a few others. The Yarn Yoshi Amiibo are phenomenal. However, on second thought, I only really needed one. I never really needed all the colors. I love the 8-bit 30th anniversary Mario Amiibo. It's so neat to see the pixel art from all sorts of different angles. And the cool thing is, it all lines up. Like, this is exactly what 8-bit Mario would look like in the front. They really thought this out. I like the diversity in sizes and detail in the figurines. I love Olimar's helmet, the shiny material used for Dr. Mario's pill. Captain Falcon looks dead on. For some reason, I always really liked the Greninja Amiibo. It's so cool to own a miniature Rob the Robot. And look at Bowser with his spikes. Yeesh, I definitely wouldn't stick him in my mouth. We also have Shovel Knight, the first third-party Amiibo, as in this wasn't made by Nintendo. And because of that, yeah, it definitely looks a bit cheaper than the others. Not knocking Shovel Knight, super cool he is an Amiibo. It's just that you can obviously tell this wasn't first party. Nowadays, I barely buy any more figures. Honestly, I have the entire Smash line except Meta Knight and Wii Fit Trainer. I have almost all the Nintendo characters in figure form. I don't have an urge to run out and pick up a ton more of these things, which kind of blows because some of the more recent Amiibo look pretty bangin'. I definitely felt the Amiibo craze when the line launched, and a decent amount of others did as well. This venture for Nintendo experienced incredible popularity upon release, but that came to a screeching halt later down the line, and now is finally gaining a bit of a resurgence. On November 21st, 2014, alongside Smash Bros. For Wii U, the first 12 Amiibo were released. People generally just bought the characters or figures they liked, but then mass hysteria kicked the door in. People were starting to realize Marth, Villager, and Wii Fit Trainer were becoming very hard to find. Nintendo confirmed these figures were the rarer of the bunch, with rumors flying around they were discontinued as early as December 2014, which wasn't true. People started to go crazy for these figures and ended up buying more and more Amiibo since they were consistently going up in price on eBay and Amazon. It's simply that thing where people go crazy for a product when they know it's impossible to find. Wave 2 came out in December of 2014 with 6 figures. figures, and they didn't even have a concrete release date here in North America. They just showed up when they showed up. Little Mac, Captain Falcon, and Pit were almost impossible to find. Other countries, however, didn't have nearly as big of an issue in terms of amiibo supply. Over here, we suffered due to the West Coast port strike. This meant import amiibo were becoming expensive as well, but in some cases were a solid alternative to trying to find US amiibo in the wild. Wave 3 was one of the worst, as it was basically like Wave 2 with no concrete release dates, but adding in retailer exclusive amiibo, which definitely added to stock issues. The first line of amiibo outside of the Smash Bros. Series came out alongside Mario Party 10, that being the first wave of Super Mario amiibo. These figures were well stocked and incredibly easy to find, with a slight exception being Toad, but an even bigger exception being the figure that made collectors go insane that was exclusive to Walmart, Gold Mario. I always had a feeling that Gold Mario was easier to find than, say, Shulk or Ike, but the fact that it was a special variant amiibo made this thing the apple of many collectors' eyes. Wave 4 then came out alongside the release of Splatoon, which also got 3 amiibo of its own, plus a companion figure to Gold Mario, Silver Mario. This was when I believe amiibo hit its peak. So many figures were released on the same day, and on top of that, there were more niche characters such as Robin, Lucina, and Ness. When pre-orders for these figures went up, GameStop's website crashed. Barely anybody got Ness when the wave initially hit. Fans were still pretty mad at how amiibo were being handled, but lucky for them, their problem would soon be resolved, but also, it would take a lot of the fun out of amiibo collecting. The next wave of Smash Bros. Amiibo was a bit spread out. 2 retailer-exclusive amiibo, Dark Pit and Palutena, came out in the summer, while the rest of the wave came out all throughout September. And this wave was incredibly easy to obtain. It seemed like Nintendo finally got a hold of their stock problems in North America. They actually restocked a bunch of rarer amiibo too. It was finally possible to get a hold of Shulk, Lucario, Ike, etc. The retailer exclusivity for certain amiibo broke off too, which meant it was easy to walk into a store, grab a Shulk amiibo, and walk out. Maybe a little too easy. Nintendo ramped up amiibo production tenfold when they saw the increasing demand for the product, but the problem was, the Smash Bros. Line was dwindling in terms of characters they could make figures out of. People were buying the other series of amiibo, but it was the Smash series that kept everybody there. Nintendo needed a new line to keep people interested, so they launched the Animal Crossing series to coincide with the releases of Happy Home Designer and a ton of Animal Crossing amiibo were released, and there was definitely stock, possibly of the over variety. There's a few things that went sour with amiibo in late 2015. Animal Crossing simply didn't have the mass appeal of the Smash line. Now, of course, that's not to despair Animal Crossing as a popular franchise, it's one of Nintendo's top series. The thing is, Smash is a crossover featuring all of Nintendo's most beloved IP. No matter who you were, there was a figure in the Smash series you had some kind of connection to. Animal Crossing simply didn't have that. The only market there was for the Animal Crossing line were Animal Crossing fans and amiibo collectors. Nintendo was pushing amiibo for games that just didn't live up to their legacy. Chibi-Robo Lash was heavily marketed alongside a Chibi-Robo amiibo, and
This game blows!
Happy Home Designer was relatively lackluster for most people, as it felt more like Animal Crossing Lite rather than a completely separate spin-off, and these were games that Nintendo made simply to sell figurines, and they lacked a lot of the heart and soul that was required to inspire people to go out and buy figures for these games. I think it would have been better to have multiple series of amiibo coming out consistently rather than 70% Animal Crossing, 30% other. How about like 4 Animal Crossing figures come out alongside 4 Kirby figures, 4 new Mario figures, a new Splatoon figure, you know, waves like that with more variety rather than basically nothing but Animal Crossing for half a year with some random figures like Wolf Link and Lucas being thrown in there. Overall, I think this was the biggest problem with amiibo running from late 2015 to 2016. Nintendo simply made too many. This took a lot of the fun out of collecting. Yeah, you could finally pick up a gold Mario at most retailers for $12.99, but that takes a lot of the satisfaction and value out of finally getting one. It took a lot of the urgency out of having to immediately pick up a figure, because in due time these amiibo would be in the clearance bin. There's no denying the stock problems Nintendo faced in the early days of amiibo were ridiculous and definitely anti-consumer, but making them too readily available takes a lot of the fun out of collecting. Amiibo definitely took a hit in terms of consumer interest from 2015 to 2016. The Smash Bros. Line basically consisted of trickling out figures of DLC characters. Animal Crossing was still going hard for the first half of 2016. A Kirby line came out in tandem with Planet Robobot. New Splatoon figures, a new wave of Mario figures, that was basically it. There was little reason to get people interested in the toy line, and it seemed as if Nintendo was pumping the brakes on Amiibo until a little game called Breath of the Wild came out. When the Nintendo Switch launched, so did Breath of the Wild, alongside a few amiibo for the game, and these things sold out hard. Everybody was crazy for the game, so these amiibo did really well. However, there weren't stock problems. If you really wanted these figures, you could pick them up no problem on release. But anytime after that, yeah, they were sold out. And really, ever since then, Nintendo hasn't seen a similar sales flop with Amiibo like they did with the Animal Crossing series. Even the Fire Emblem Amiibo, which definitely has a smaller audience than say the Zelda ones or even Animal Crossing, didn't sit in clearance bins, but were relatively easy to find a week or so after release. And if you want to get a hold of the Zelda Amiibo, then just wait it out because Nintendo has been doing steady yet conservative restocks. It finally seems Nintendo has figured out how to properly stock Amiibo. There hasn't been a ton of headaches or stock problems with the Toys to Life line. Those troubles carry on with Nintendo's mini consoles. And there also hasn't been recent Amiibo overflowing store shelves due to nobody buying them. Nintendo has finally figured out the perfect amount of Amiibo to send to stores. And if they keep this up, then Amiibo is far from dead. And wait, did anybody else totally forget these things work with games? Yeah, these suckers have in-game functionality. That's nuts! Smash Brothers is one of the best examples of Amiibo support, and that was the game these things launched with. It was pretty neat to train my own little Pac-Man to fight just like I do. Most of the time the functionality is just, oh, you got a random little item in the game. Oh, you got a costume. Or, oh, you got a mode or unlockable that should have been unlocked in the game after beating it rather than being forced behind an Amiibo paywall. As Amiibo are starting to become popular again, it seems like Nintendo is focusing less and less on in-game functionality and more so just making Amiibo cool collectibles. Look at Breath of the Wild, the Amiibo just give you in-game items. Seems a bit like an afterthought in my opinion. Or when they revealed the Pikmin Amiibo for Hey Pikmin, they basically shrugged it off in small text what the functionality of the Amiibo was. Well, if Nintendo isn't interested in giving Amiibo purpose, I sure as hell won't miss an opportunity to kill an afternoon, and I'll do it myself. So, hi everybody, and welcome to How Many Amiibo Can I Fit in My Mouth? Let's pick one at random here. Damn it!